Hey guys, I'm Hunter from Nock Outdoors. Today I'm going to be showing you a possible remedy for a Nock bare shaft, and basically what I think is the best way to put on a D-loop. So basically, in a normal D-loop, you have the knots set equal distance from the nock. And this is on a Hallen 6. If you watch the tuning video that I just put up, and then I'll link in the description box, we had been having some problems with the Nock bare shaft. And finally, I got to looking at this and realized that this is actually cheated. The D-loop is actually cheated and shifted up, as opposed to even just level or even with the nock. So what that does is, I don't know if you can tell, but it makes the release pull on the D-loop above the nocking point. And I'll put some pictures on the screen to illustrate this. And what that does is it makes an angle for the nock the nock is resting on. So when the bow fires, it's putting pressure kind of on the lower side of the arrow, which makes the nock try to kick up. And no matter what you do with the rest or with the timing or whatever, it's not going to fix it. So basically what you need to do is, instead of having it even on both sides, you need to have the lower one, or even in this case this got tied in to where it's above the nock on accident, but you need to have it tied in so the bottom one is farther below the nock than the top one is. So I'm gonna have to cut this off. So now that I got that off, I won't have to redo all the nocking points because I already have my nocking points tied in, which are really small, as you can see. I'll link that video in the description box if you want to know how I do mine. But now I just have to retie the D-loop, and I'll show you what I mean by the new positioning of the D-loop. But I also want to show you how I make some good end loop balls. So, because this is one of the things I struggled with when I first got into tuning my own bows. So basically I just kind of jab it with my fingers like you're seeing right now, and you just get it nice and fluffed up on the end here. And then you take your flame and you just I just kind of wave it around, melt everything down. Don't keep it in the same place very long because it will catch on fire, which will weaken the ball, I've heard. So I just keep kind of melting it like that, being careful not to catch on fire. And it's making a nice ball. So as you can see, that's a very big ball, and that's not going to come undone. Now I'm going to put my D-loop on, and usually I start on top, which I'm going to change that habit, and I'm going to start on the bottom, because if you start on the top and you have tied nocking points, it's automatically going to want to cheat both ends of the D-loop up the string, which is going to make it uneven on both sides of the nock. So I'm going to start below the D-loop, and I'm actually going to leave just a little bit of a gap between this bottom nocking point and the D-loop. And what that's going to do is, hopefully, if I can do this right, it'll leave the bottom nocking point farther away from the center of the nock than the top one, and that'll make the release coming straight back off the nock and not above it, which will cause the string to make an angle, and that can throw off your bare shafts. So I'm going to leave a little bit of gap there. I'll probably go right there. It needs to go like that to line up with the peep. I'm going to tighten this one down so it doesn't move. I'm going to cross over to the top, and this is the hard part. Tied nocking points are a blessing because if you ever have to replace your D-loop, they really make it nice. you don't have to refine your knocking point. But they sure do make it hard when you're tying D-loops and you want a small D-loop. Because they make it wider and it's hard to get your loops through. I've already done this once and screwed it up. There we go. So I got that all the way through, and now I'm going to line it up to the direction I want it for the peep sight. Going right like that. Stick my pliers in here. I have these D-loop pliers, which are really nice if you're not doing knocking points. But when you do your knocking points, it really makes it hard because it's just a little too wide for it to fit in there. There we go. This one's not that bad. Tighten that up a little bit. Alright, so hopefully you can see now. Let me put a knock in there. It's kind of hard to get my point across with this, but there's a little bit more space between this bottom knot and the knock than the top knot and the knock. And what that's going to do is when you put your release on and you draw the bow, that's going to make it becoming straight off the back of the knock and not above it, so you have a nice string that's perpendicular to the knock and not slanted, because when it's slanted it'll put pressure on the bottom of the knock and that can cause your bare shafts to go high, or if you're shooting broadheads, it can cause bad aeroflight and your broadheads will probably go hit lower than your field points. Anyway, that's a tip I have for making the best D-loops you can. If you have a knock high bare shaft, like I said, this can certainly help, and we'll see if it helps our problem. I think this is going to take care of it, but check out the Matthews Hallen tuning video if you want to find out if it works for us, and make sure you give this a like if you like the video and subscribe to Bronco Outdoors.